Welcome back to the Pit Stop Ranch. So we are pressing forward on our 59A flathead Ford V8. We are waiting on some parts before we can finish putting together our magneto and mounting it up and getting it all timed and set and running. So that leaves me with the fact that we got three old carburetors of unknown character. They'll look the same more or less, though there's small differences between them. I presume functionally they're the same. Not sure. We do have a rebuild kit with two more on their way. They're supposed to be here today or tomorrow. But the weather's kind of blustery and unpleasant to be in, so something like sanding or painting on Jimmy was not exactly something that I'm presently too excited about the prospect of, nor am I on anything that involves working directly outside. So want to get this thing on the engine test stand, and we want to find out if these carburetors will work. This one here and this one here both move freely, though this one binds a little bit. This one here is completely frozen. So I think what I want to do is go ahead and tackle this one, get it all cleaned up, taken apart, gone through. Now, a few things we need to be cognizant of. We need to have symmetry as far as like jetting and settings at minimum on the outside ones, and the inside one we can have a little bit different, assuming we go with the progressive carb linkage, which is exactly what we're going to go with, because whereas this is the TROG motor, it's going to be driven, so we want to make sure that on partial throttle we're mostly driving on the center carb. Like early throttle and partial throttle are mostly on the center carb, and then it's only as we get above halfway do we start opening up the outside carburetors. Overall, that means that the jetting on the middle one's going to be pretty close, more standard, typical jetting. Well, we're going to have to go to much larger jets on the outside, because as we open up the outside, the signal's going to get weaker. Well, it might still work. Anyways, we'll figure out the jetting situation, but the point is we need to figure out what jets are in there, and then figure out what's a good source to buy jets for these carbs, or do we got to make our own, which we can do. It's a bit of a challenge. If I had a lathe, we could do that, but I don't have a lathe, not yet at least. Anyways, I digress. So we're going to go and jump into the crustiest, dirtiest, and ugliest one of these carburetors and see what we can figure out and go from there. Okay. The first thing we should do is go ahead and squirt and then while that's soaking a little bit in the acrylic, we can go ahead and open up our kit and see what it comes with. Now, it says the instruction sheets are on the website, so we're going to go ahead and get those. Okay, downloaded our instructions and printed them. It's Copyright's in 1967. Tech lit. So, now it's interesting that Walker carburetors, or Walker products, the carburetor kits, you have to download and print the instructions yourself. It seems kind of a nickel and dime cost savings decision, but you know, it is what it is. That's all it will ever be. So anyway, now this is for Holley carburetors, and of course this one here is a Ford. Now Ford built these carburetors under license from Holley, and based on the microscopic sketches right here, maybe can't see too well. It looks like this is a 2100, equivalent of a Holley 2100. Okay, a casual internet search, of course. This is a Holley 94 style carburetor. Got the 94 right there. Obviously the Ford version of it. I think one of the first things we should do is take this cast iron base off, because that's where it's all locked up in here, and maybe we can start working that free, soaking it and getting it free. So let's set this aside. Now on screws and other fasteners, when you use improperly fitting drivers, you end up damaging the heads. So a kit like this is pretty handy, because you can figure out the correct driver fit. So you're less likely to mess up your fasteners. Yuck. Holley power valve right there. It's real important when you're disassembling that you give everything a good looking over, and then place all the parts in a logical manner so you can figure out how it goes back together when you're trying to put it back together, because nothing worse than putting it together and discovering you got a few extra pieces left over. You have no idea where they go. Now the exploded view in the instructions will be helpful, but you know, just be cognizant of what order things came off and where they go back. None of these screws are particularly tight. In fact, none of them are. They're only, I'd say, snugged. They're not really uptight. Which most people err on the side of too tight. Yours truly, especially. So I wonder when the last time this was taken apart and if it was deemed too far gone to be used as a core or not. It was definitely outside for a while, given the level of organic debris that was inside the throat. But when you over tighten, what happens is if you way over tighten, you strip out the soft metal this thing's made out of. But even before you get to that point, you can warp and deform the pieces so they do not properly seal. Now, I looked into, and these line up perfectly with the jets down here. So that's so you can get a screwdriver in to get them out. Accelerator pump. Now, as far as carburetors go, this is a not a very it's a sophisticated, but it's not a crazily complex. These are emulsifier tubes. And if you're familiar with Holleys that followed this, you see a lot of the design features in this carburetor that I think make it into a lot of the future Holley carburetors, which make them extremely popular to build and tune. So I'm fairly comfortable with it, even though this is my first time pulling apart one of these carburetors. You have a lot of little delicate passages all through these things that need to be cleaned out thoroughly. Okay, these appear to say 51 on them, so I'm assuming that's the jet size. I'm going to go ahead and go in order. I'm going to go ahead and soak all of this stuff, and then I'm going to go order, while it's soaking, I'm going to go ahead and order a jet set for one of these, for these carburetors. Okay. we got some Berryman Chem Dip carburetor parts cleaner. This stuff is pretty nasty, though to be honest with you, I think due to environmental considerations, it has been reformulated to something that isn't quite as bad as what it was in my youth. Okay, so we got some air curl in there doing its thing. So I think time for some flame. So is a hammer the right tool for this step here? Well, actually I think it is. Shock loading helps quite a bit on knocking stuff like this loose. The trick is how much power do you use. Now, it's on a pretty flimsy piece of plywood, which helps absorb a lot of the shock, so it should be okay, maybe. Okay, so I can't get this base unstuck. It is bad. So I'm not gonna waste this first rebuild kit on this setup. I'm gonna buy another used carburetor, but I can go ahead and use this rebuild kit on our other carburetors that are free, and I'm gonna go and do that now. But I'm going to go ahead and put this one all back together so that all the parts are here. And if I need to part it out, I can. I went ahead and ordered the jets. So I've got a pile of jets for these carburetors coming. Looks like Holley Ford used the same jets for a couple decades and a lot of different carburetors. So that's good. That makes a lot of sense. So we should be able to get it all going. So I'm going to go ahead and fish these out. Okay, I've reassembled it without gaskets. You can see that it's some reason there's a gap here. The top screws are just brought down until they touch, not tight. Doesn't rattle. There's no gaskets anywhere on this. It's not really tied anywhere. No new parts at all in here. Maybe the aero krill will work its way in and this will free up, and then it's worth finishing the rebuild. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to toss this back on the manifold just so it's in a safe place, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab one of the other ones, go through, do a rebuild, and that way it's rebuilt. Here's the next one. I'm starting off by taking the top off. The base is held on by some not original hardware, so I might figure out what thread that is, and then maybe Monday get the proper pieces. Okay, this one's hasn't been run since it was rebuilt. This one was recently rebuilt, hasn't been run since it's been rebuilt. So the The only risk is the gaskets and seals have dried out on it. But it's a good, internally looks like it's a good to go carburetor. So we're just going to button it up and we're not going to spend any time on it. But you can see it's got brand new brass rod in there. No, this was gone through not long ago. This was and well done. So other than the oddball hardware holding the base to the body. So I'm going to go ahead, put this back on the engine, and we'll grab the third one. Alright, this is the third one that was sitting in the middle of the setup. It has a different top on it. Two of them are missing whatever goes there. I suspect that's a vacuum hookup that needs to be plugged. This one on the exterior is in the best condition. And looks like it has been refurbished, possibly professionally. Exact same thing as the last one we took apart. It is basically brand new. It doesn't need a rebuild. So other than the fact we're in the market for another one of these carburetors. Now, one of the challenges with these three carburetors is they have different setups in here. This one and the first one, this is the same. However, we got these weird, ginormous roll pins in there for some reason. Which don't make any sense to me. And I'm checking the main jets. 50. So the other two are 51 and this one's 50. We have two basically good, new functional carburetors. Anyway, we've gone through the three carburetors. Now these are all Ford Holley 94s. Now, there seems to be three major iterations of it, at least according to the rebuild kit and instructions for said rebuild kit. There's the AA1, the 2100, and the 2110. This one's an AA1, and these two are both 2100s. These two have been rebuilt and are internally in great shape. They don't need anything. This one here is basically scrap. It's parts. So if we get another, we need to get another one to replace because the base is completely chowed. So that is on the short list of things that we need to do here very shortly before we can start this thing and run it. Now that said, worst case scenario, we can just go ahead and close the chokes on these two and run the engine on this one. When we're actually running it, the way we want to run it is we want to run it with progressive linkage, which is the center one opens up first, and then these outer ones then snap open nice and quick. This one has some weird linkage on it. Now, as far as the 2100 versus the AA1, I don't know if there's one is better or not. No idea. We also have different. Let's see. These two both have 51 jets in it. This one has a 50 jet in it. Now setting it up like this with a progressive linkage, you're going to want a slightly smaller jet on the middle one and then fatter jets on the outside one, because as they open up, the signal is going to get weaker, and as a result you're going to need to flow a lot more fuel in these outside ones, but you're going to need this inside one to work well at partial throttle. What we need is we need two are the same and one can be slightly different, and the slightly different one should be in the middle. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit the like button. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe. Helps us out a lot. We're trying to get to the magic 1,000 so that we can monetize. Not that that really means much, but it's a milestone. It means we're growing, we're doing stuff. People like me. Of course, comment down below your thoughts on the trials and tribulations with these carburetors. Like your feedback. Any feedback. Hey idiot, you're doing it wrong. You know, comments. And as always, have a carb-tastic day.